Now today I have focused on two-port network based objective problems. Okay, near about 2 or 3 step, and sometimes some parameter exist and some parameter not exist. So how can tackle this problem? This type problem asking in GATE, ES, ssc-je, AE and all type of exam. Okay, so very carefully done. No, I2 this equal to minus I1, very clear. I2 this equal to minus I1, and if you retain I1, that is V1 minus V2 divided by R. Very simple. I1 is written as 1 by R into V1 minus 1 by R into V2. What about I2? I2 is written as plus 1 by R into V2 corresponding. So what about Y parameter? I know that Y parameter is written corresponding Y11 here. I1 this equal to Y11 into V1 and Y12 into V2, and I2 this equal to Y21 into V1 plus Y22 into V2 corresponding. That is Y parameter. If you compare, okay, then we got Y parameter, that is 1 by R, minus 1 by R and minus 1 by R and plus 1 by R. Clear? Clear? So Y parameter is done and Y parameter exists and we got corresponding to this one. What about Z parameter? I know that Z is the inverse of Y. Z is the inverse of Y. And I know that what about if you determine Y parameter, Y inverse means adjoint Y divided by mod Y. If what about mod Y? If you got 1 by R square minus 1 by R square, we got 0. Okay, that is R square minus R square, that is 0. It means if mod Y is 0, then whatever be the value of here, suppose that is A, B, C, D, then we got infinitive, infinitive, infinitive and infinitive. Clear or not? Very simple. So all parameter Y corresponding infinitive, infinitive means Z parameter is not exist, means does not exist. Clear or not? Sometimes asking Y parameter, Z parameter, so this one is not exist. If you clarify, someone says, sir, I please clarify with circuit. Okay, so mathematically clear or not? Y Z parameter is not exist. If you clarify, means I know that V1 Z parameter is written as I1 Z12 into I2, okay, and V2 is written as Z21 into I1 plus Z22 into I2 corresponding. If you determine Z11 means V1 by I1 if I2 is 0, Z21 is written as V2 divided by I1 at I2 is equal to 0. If you this value put here, if I2 is 0 means both are, this one is I1 is also 0. Okay, so if I1 is 0, then V1 by 0, this is infinitive. Same thing Z12 and Z22, same V1 by I2 at I1 this equal to 0, we got infinitive, and V2 by I2, that is at I1 is 0, that is infinitive. Same thing. Clarify or not? So it is clear why Z parameter is not exist. Now I have take another question. If you consider, suppose that is a resistance R, then what about Z and Y parameter? Okay, what about Z and Y parameter corresponding to this question? Now if you retain V1, here we got I1 plus I2 current. Okay, so if you retain V1, then retain R into I1 plus R into I2. V2 is same because both are parallel. So if you retain Z parameter, then R. Very clear. So Z is exist. Now what about mod Z? That is 0, because of r square minus r square, this is equal to 0. That's why we are saying. So if you determine y parameter means that is Z of inverse. Okay, mod Z is 0, that's why that is not exist. Not exist. Clear or not? Okay, if you determine the circuit corresponding to circuit, then if I2 this equal to 0, okay, sorry, V1 V2, if V1 this equal to V2 this equal to 0, if V2 this equal to 0, then we got Y11 this equal to I1 by V1, and Y12 this equal to I2 divided by V1, at V2 this equal to 0, at V2 this equal to 0. What about this value? V2 this equal to 0 means V2 this equal to 0, that is short circuit. If V2 is short circuit, it means voltage across this one 0, that is this one and this one, both V1 and V2 are parallel, so V1 is also 0. If V1 is also 0, when I1 divided by 0, that is infinitive. This is also infinitive. Similarly, if V1 this equal to 0, if V1 this equal to 0, V1 this equal to V2, this is equal to also 0. So you can say that 21 this equal to 0 and Y22 this equal to also 0. Sorry, infinitive, and this is also infinitive. Okay. Now another question. First of all, make it. If any doubt, then clarify with circuit diagram. First of all, determine corresponding this one. If you have any doubt, then with the help of circuit diagram. Okay. Now we take another problem corresponding to, suppose that resistance R, here resistance R, and that is R resistance, and this is I1, and our motto corresponding to that is V2, and here I2 this equal to 0. It's very clear. Our motto, determine all parameter corresponding to this circuit. Okay. Means Z, Y, H and G also. Now our motto, how to determine it? First of all, make circuit corresponding to this one. Clear? Very clear. V1 is equal to I1 into R1, and I2 is equal to 0. Very clear. Which one is clear? Very. What about V2? I don't know. And what about I1? I don't know. But we have also determined I1. I1 is equal to 1 by R into V1. Okay. Now first of all, I2 is clear, and this one is 0 into V2. I2 is also written as 0 V1 plus 0 V2. So what about Y parameter? That is 1 by R 0 0 0. So Y parameter is clear. That is 1 by R 0 0 0. Clear? Now our next target is what about Z? Z not exist. Z is inverse of Y, not exist. Why? Because of mod Y this is equal to 1 by R into 0 minus 0 into 0, so that is 0. It means it does not exist. Clear or not? Not exist. Okay. Z parameter is not exist. Y parameter exists. Now what about H parameter exist or not? I know that. What about H parameter? If you written H parameter means V1 this equal to H11 into I1 plus H12 into V2, and I2 here, that is H21 into I1 plus H22 into V2. Okay. So first circuit corresponding to V1 this equal to R into I1 plus 0 into V2. Clear? Now what about I2? I2 this equal to 0 into I1 plus 0 into V2. So H is R0 0 0. Okay, that is H parameter. H parameter exists. Same thing. What about G? G is the inverse of H. Okay, inverse of H. What about mod H? Mod H is 0. R into 0 minus 0 into 0. So it is 0. So you can say that this one is not exist. So you can say that G and Z is not exist, but Y and H are exist. And what is the value of H and what is the value of Y is given like this one. Okay. Now we take another problem. If this one is here and that is R corresponding to this one. Okay. And if you taken 1 ohm, suppose that is 1 ohm. Okay. Now our motto, next target, same. How can determine? How can determine these problems, these values? Okay. V1 is clear, very clear, 0. And what about V2? V2 this equal to I2. V2 this equal to 1 into I2, that is I2, very clear. Okay. Now our motto, determine all parameter corresponding to, very clear. V1 is written as 0 into I1 plus 0 into I2, and V2 is written as 0 into I1 plus 1 into I2. So Z is written as 0 0 0 1. Okay, corresponding to this one. Now that is Z parameter. Another way, our motto, determine Y parameter. What about mod Z? Mod Z is 0. 0 into 1 minus 0 into 0, that is 0. So you can say that Y is not exist, because of Y means Z inverse. Okay, not exist. Why? Because of clear, that is singular matrix, that's why. Or you can say that is 0. All parameters are infinite, that's why. Clear? Now my next one, H and G parameter. I know that H parameter means V1 in the terms of corresponding to V1. So it is written as 0 into I1 plus 0 into V2. Okay. Now what about I2? I2 is written as 0 into I1 plus 1 into V2. So what about H? H is written as 0 0 0 1. Same thing, mod H, 0 into 1 minus 0 into 0, that is 0. And G, G this be equal to, okay, so this one is not exist. Clear or not? Does not exist. Clear? Both G parameters not exist. G parameter and Z parameter is not exist. Sorry, Y parameter is not exist. Z and H parameter are exist corresponding to this one. Okay, first of all make it. Now another problem corresponding to this one, that is 5 ohm. Here I1 is equal to 0, that is V1 and that is V2. Our motto, determine all parameter corresponding to. Okay, so we are focused on now I1 is clear, very clear, 0. And what about V2? V2 is very clear, that is 5 into I2. Okay, if you written G parameter, this is H parameter, if you written is G parameter, then that is I1 is written as G11 V1 plus G12 into I2. Okay, and that is V2 this be equal to G21 into V1 plus G22 into I2 corresponding. Clear? Now if you compare this one, I1 and V2, I1 and V2, I1 is written as 0 into V1 plus 0 into I2. Okay, and what about V2? V2 is written as V1 0 into V1 plus 5 into I2. So what about G parameter? That is 0, 0, 0 and 5. Clear? So what about mod G? That is 0, 5 into 0 minus 0 into 0, that is 0. So what about H parameter? I know that H is the inverse of G, and mod G is 0, it means does not exist. Clear or not? Only G parameter are available here. Okay, because of this is I1 not given corresponding to this one or this one, that's why. So only here H parameter are exist. Okay, now if you taken corresponding to here, and I have already discussed this type of problem, and corresponding to this one, suppose that is 2 ohm. Now determine this value. Now V1 is equal to 2I1 and V2 is equal to 0. So I1 is written as 1 by 2 into V1 plus 0 into I2, and V2 is written as 0 into V1 plus 0 into I2. So what about G parameter? Corresponding to 1 by 2, 0, 0, 0. Same thing, mod G is 0, 0 minus 0, that's why. So what about H parameter? H parameter is not exist because of G inverse is H is equal to G inverse. So mod Z is, you can say that does not exist. Clear or not? So only G parameter are exist corresponding to this one. Okay, now if make corresponding to this one and you like this one, okay, that is V1 and V2, I2 is equal to 0. Now how can determine other parameter? I1 is equal to, V1 is equal to I0, V1 is equal to 0 and I2 is equal to 0. Okay, V1 is equal to 0 and I2 is equal to 0. So what is the value of V1 I2? This is V1 I2. It means H parameter are exist. V1 is equal to 0, I1 plus 0 into V2 and I2 is equal to 0 into I1 plus 0 into V2. So H parameter is 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so only H parameter are exist. Again G is not exist. Clear? So H parameter are exist corresponding to this one. Okay, now another problem. If I1 is 0 and I2 is 0, I1 is 0 and I2 is 0, means I1 is written as 0 V1 plus 0 V2, I2 is written as 0 into V1 plus 0 into V2. So Y parameter are exist 0, 0, 0 and Z parameter is not exist. So only Y parameter we got corresponding to this one. So only Y parameter exist. Clear or not? Very clear. Okay. Now another problem corresponding to, if this one, okay, I1 is equal to 0, V2 is equal to 0. So only G parameter are exist corresponding to this one. Okay, if written 0 V1 plus 0 I2, and V2 is written as 0 V1 plus 0 I2. So what about G parameter? That is 0 0 0 0. That is 0. G parameter is corresponding to this one. Okay. Now next one. Next problem corresponding to this one. Okay. Now, so it is clear only G parameter exists because of all. I have clear. H parameter is not exist because of that is inverse of G, and mod G is 0. So you can say that H parameter not exist. Okay. Now corresponding to this problem, I know that here V1 and V2 are 0. V1 V2 are 0 means V1 is written as 0 into I1 plus 0 into I2, and V2 is equal to 0 into I1 plus 0 into I2. So Z parameter corresponding to 0 0 0. And what about Y? Not exist because of that is inverse of Z. That's why. Clear? Do not exist. Do not, does not exist. Clear or not? Why? Because of mod Z is equal to 0. So only exist this parameter. Okay. Only Z parameter, not corresponding to this one and this one. Okay. So make it. This is the conceptual problem corresponding to GATE, ES and AE ssc-je type of exam. Okay. 2 or 3 line question. Only maximum 2 line or 3 line. Okay. If your formula is remember, then solve all type problem. Done it.